Good evening, good morning, wherever you may be around the globe, in the chat room, on another planet, or on the other side. I'd like to be on another planet, maybe on the other side myself tonight. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera, and we're running a little late here. I get a bunch of stuff thrown at me at the last minute, and it just, I'm one person, so here we are. We're here. This is Late Night in the Midlands, and tonight I've got a rescheduled guest. We had a couple mishaps the last couple times we scheduled them, and so we've got John Desouza joining us here tonight, and we got a lot to talk about too, especially when it comes to the UFO phenomena. I'm sure a lot of people know that the Pentagon has come out and, admitted some things now. And so we'll get into that as we move along here. And I'm still at this point, still trying to get things together here. It's just amazing. Absolutely amazing how things work out sometimes. But here's something that's good, though. It's warmed up here. Nice and warm out. Tonight here in Columbia, South Carolina. That's what I like about the South. It starts, you might get a couple, 2-3 cold nights, and then that just turns around. Yeah, I know, and I don't care about YouTube right now, but thank you for telling me. Anyways, folks, I got some news and some discovery that I want to get into here in just a moment. First, the websites. LNMradionetwork.com. Go on over, become a member, be informed, and by all means, inform others. And folks, we could use your help. So by all means, yeah, we're gonna be without. We're having some few issues here. Anyhow, folks, I'll get the camera up in a minute. It's got some issues right now, but yeah, I've got some news and discovery I want to get into, so I may as well do that. We don't have a lot of time here, so I want to get things going, and then maybe I can get everything else fixed after the break here. The Pentagon ran a secretive $22 million UFO program. It has emerged that until recently, the U.S. government had been running this covert UFO investigation program, according to reports. The program was founded at the request of former Senator and UFO enthusiast Harry Reid, and was set up to investigate credible sightings of unidentified flying objects. So, and the questions coming out, are they preparing? I mean, they actually had a serious discussion about it on the lamestream media in the morning. I forget what show it was on, but because I don't watch that garbage. But hey, at least they're finally covering something worth listening to. So among these were reports by U.S. military pilots of unknown objects traveling at impossible speeds without any visible means of propulsion, or hovering without any apparent means of lift. And I seen a little bit of video, and you can hear the pilots of these fighters, talking about this thing's rotating, it's doing this, it's doing that, and it's amazing, and it kind of leads you to wonder just how much do they know about these things. And I mean, are they like us? We hear about they've made agreements with the aliens. I don't know who made the agreements, because I mean, why investigate what you already would know, right? So I don't know, unless that's a psyop. I guess it could be. They say if anyone says they have the answers, they're fooling themselves, Reid wrote. He says, we don't know the answers, but we have plenty of evidence to support asking the questions, which is true. I mean, there's enough evidence to say that somebody or something is flying craft in our skies that does not belong to any government. All right, it's happening. And, and for the Pentagon to come out and finally admit it, I mean, we knew this anyways. For me, it's no big surprise, although I am glad to see those who don't normally talk about it. The program reportedly ran from 2007 to 2012 and cost a total of $22 million, known as the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. It was ultimately closed due to a change of funding priorities. And so, yeah, folks, I'll get the camera up after the break. Having a couple issues. Look, the main thing is Late Night in the Midlands is a radio show, so that comes first. So nothing comes before the radio feed. That I could promise you. So when we get on the break, I'll get that back up. But for right now, all you're getting is the audio, and that's just the way it's going to be. Unless I get up and start moving around doing all these things live, and it's just it's not very professional to do so. So we'll have to wait. Yeah, see, I don't have Lisa Lyons running around my studios. I got it's me. Artificial intelligence will be used to do evil things, a top robotics expert has warned. Killer robots. Artificial intelligence. We're hearing about this a lot lately. Say they'll be used to do evil things, experts are warning. You mean more evil than things that humans have done? I didn't think it could get any worse. Martin Ford, the author behind New York Times bestseller Rise of the Robots, said there are many risks that people must be aware of when it comes to the role of artificial intelligence in our society. He said artificial intelligence, robots, and smart software are going to be used by criminals to hack into the systems and do evil things. They're going to do evil things. Like what? Bomb children? Evil things like that, I wonder? I don't know. Covert programs where you experiment on the population, but you don't tell them you're experimenting on them? Those kind of evil things, or does it get even worse? Maybe it gets worse. The Dow rises 5,000 points in a year for the first time ever. Yep, and Barack Insane Obama, he'll keep saying, oh, this is his economy. I mean, that's about, they ought to use that on Saturday Night Live. That'd be the funniest skit they ever did. Multiple fatalities, dozens injured, Amtrak crash near DuPont. That's why I like staying home. I don't need to travel. Planes, trains. I don't mind automobiles. An unknown number of people are dead. Multiple people are injured after an Amtrak train derailed and crashed onto southbound Interstate 5 between Tacoma and Olympia. So I don't have a lot of details on that. I guess 77 people taken to local hospitals and 82 people were on board. And there are multiple fatalities, but I don't know how many. I don't have that here in front of me, but you could expect something like that. You got a train going, 80 miles an hour? Goes off an overpass? That's not good. Did worker find human organs at Detroit wastewater treatment plant? Oh, how wonderful. Get a drink of water. It's bad enough they're already making you drink poison, lead out of those lines. Now you're going to have body parts. It could be a month before experts can determine the origin of what's thought to be human organs found at a Detroit wastewater treatment plant on Friday. A worker at the plant on West Jefferson found what appears to be a kidney or liver, the second such discovery in 2 days. So apparently the thugs have found a new place to drop off body parts. Police evidence technicians took the organs to Wayne County Medical Examiner's office to determine its origin, human or animal. Either way, it's a little too close to drinking water, I think. California offers second chance to people convicted of marijuana crimes. And that's about the only thing California's done that I guess I could agree with. I could agree with that. I mean, I don't think people should be in jail for marijuana. I mean, if they were selling it to children or something like that, okay. But I mean, as far as having it on their person, smoking it, I don't know, growing it, even, I don't see no reason to lock people up for a plant that God gave us. So if I have a pine tree in my yard, you're going to arrest me for that too? Why? Because I can't smoke it? Just crazy. Absolutely crazy. Loneliness can damage health, triggering inflammation and neurological changes. Loneliness, they say, can tank your mood, but can it affect your health too? I guess some people it can. Some people enjoy being alone. I mean, if you're happy being alone, is that hurting your health? Maybe your mental health might be. I don't know, though. Even your mental health depends on who you are. Anyways, that's all I got. That's all I can give because we had a late start here. So I'm going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to have my guest with me, John Desouza. He's investigated and collected experiences on paranormal topics for 2 decades. He was an FBI special agent who maintained a top secret security clearance for over 25 years. He worked counterterrorism and violent crime cases, and also during that time, he collected what he calls the real life X-Files. So we're going to talk with John when we come back. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera. We'll be back in just a few minutes. God willing, of course.
The LNM Radio Network offers a chat room for you, the listener, to connect with others whom are interested in the topics and guests that the LNM Radio Network brings to you. During the live shows, the hosts will even visit the chat room and chat with you, the listener. Click on the big red Chat and Listen button at the top of the website and join us. No subscription is needed at either lnmradionetwork.com or latenightinthemidlands.com.
When you need a reliable source for your toner, where do you turn? Laser Technologies International Incorporated, your source for quality laser printer, copier and fax toner. We supply a frustration-free cartridge guaranteed not to harm your printer. Delivering 100% of the quality at a fraction of the price. We have products for most major brands. Find us on the web at www.laser-technologies.com. Email us at service@laser-technologies.com. Call us at 561-792-9600. That's 561-792-9600. Laser Technologies, 561-792-9600. Providing excellent customer service since 1995.
Want to advertise to a worldwide audience? Contact me, Michael Vera, at mv@latenightinthemidlands.com to inquire about your possible and low-cost placement on Late Night in the Midlands and the LNM Radio Network. We have a package and a deal that suits you, so contact us at mv@latenightinthemidlands.com and get noticed right away.
Dark secrets lie within the pages of Haunted, finding an explanation for the unknown. Within the dark of night, subtle sounds can be heard. Unseen hands reach out to touch, stirring echoes of past nightmares and paranoia. In Haunted, finding an explanation for the unknown, you will read chilling true stories of hauntings, demonic possessions, and everything that goes bump in the night, as we explore the hows and whys of haunted houses and more. Ira Robinson has not only been a man who has personally experienced the paranormal, but an investigator for many years as well, and brings his expertise to bear on this mysterious subject. What did our ancient ancestors think of the spirit world? What did they do as a response to their own paranormal experiences? Are the tools people use today to communicate with the spirit world not only appropriate, but safe to use? Can the dead return to us in some way in order to help us or harm us? You will find an answer to these questions and much more in Haunted, Finding an Explanation for the Unknown. Don't be afraid. The keys to understanding are in your hands. Find this book and all of his others at Ira Robinson's official website, originalworlds.com.
It's the middle of the night and there's nothing much to do. Bring your insomniac stuff over to Late Night in the Midlands and learn something. We've got every topic you can think of with very little being off limits. Alien abductions, government corruptions, the stuff that's got your sleep disrupted. Come join the conversation, Dells, and tune in to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera.
Why subscribe to Late Night in the Midlands, you ask? Well, I'll tell you why. Late Night in the Midlands covers everything, and through the thousands of expert guests who have joined Michael Vera on his show, come pieces of the big puzzle, which started many years ago. Michael and his guests reveal information dating back to the beginning of time. To this very moment, Michael Vera not only brings you the best guests with the best information, but Michael is not afraid to call out those who are less than honest. You see, in this day and age, we need a radio show we can count on and a radio host we can trust to expose the truth one show at a time. So, become a late nighter and subscribe now. Talk radio like no other. Late Night in the Midlands, bringing the truth back to talk radio.
Ask 10 different scientists about the environment, population control, genetics, and you'll get 10 different answers. But there's one thing every scientist on the planet agrees on. Whether it happens in 100 years, or 1,000 years, or 1,000,000 years, eventually our sun will grow cold and go out. When that happens, it won't just take us. It'll take Marilyn Monroe, and Lao Tzu, and Einstein, and Morobuto, and Buddy Holly, and Aristophanes. All of this was for nothing. Unless we go to the stars.
You can listen to the LNM Radio Network 24 hours a day, 7 days a week through the Paranormal Radio app. Available from lnmradionetwork.com or talkstreamlive.com on both Android and Apple. Our call to listen line is open 24/7. Dial 701-719-9704 so you can listen on the go. Become a late nighter and subscribe now. LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Exposing the truth, one show at a time. Join us in the LNM chat and get your question directly to the host. From the East Coast of the United States, the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, you're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera. To call in, dial 803-339-2559 or 803-392-4566. To reach us on Skype, just use Skype ID, LNM Radio.
We are back. This is Late Night in the Midlands, and I am Michael Vera. And yeah, our mothership is the LNM Radio Network, which you could get to from lnmradionetwork.com. That's where this show comes from, not from YouTube or Facebook or anywhere else. All the rest of that is all secondary. I appreciate people listening from wherever you listen from, but my biggest main concern is the LNM Radio Network. That's number one for me, because that's where this broadcast comes from, and that's how others pick it up. So that's what. So that's the main squeeze for this show. Anyhow, I mean, we were broadcasting on Facebook too. I cut that out. And, YouTube, it's something we decided to try last December. And so far, we've been doing it a year now. It's worked out well. Not since YouTube's made all these changes they did, it's not working out as well. But we're managing. We're making it. People want it there, so we're keeping it there. But we need you to do it. We need folks to step up, donate, and subscribe, because without you, there'll be no us, and that's just the truth. To yesterday it might be Facebook. Today, who knows what it could be. So keep it coming, and we'll keep it coming too. Now, I did tell you a little bit about my guest, and he's been on the show before. He's got some videos too, which I'm gonna try. He kind of threw them at me at the last minute, so we're gonna try to get. I know I've got one ready to go, but we'll see about the others. But he's got some videos he'd like to share. We're gonna discuss. Definitely get into this whole UFO thing. The Pentagon, and I got some other questions too. For him about other things. But anyhow, let's start this one out. Let's get John on the line with us, and we'll get this puppy running. It's ringing. Yeah, besides, people don't need to see me. You need to hear me, not see. Oh, there you are.
On my ears. Hold on. Hey, Michael, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. How are you, my friend?
I am doing great, man. I had been hanging out, doing a lot of conferences, and I had forgotten how great your show is. And then I saw Tom Campbell, the cutting-edge physicist, on your show. Man, and it blew my socks off. That was amazing. Do you remember that interview?
I do. I absolutely do. It's it is amazing. Something else that's amazing, John, is the Pentagon coming out and admitting some things today, right?
Oh yeah, that's why I talked to you about the videos. I want to be able to show those videos. That's important, and that's the biggest thing. People have been buzzing my phone off since last night. Last night I didn't pay attention. I didn't know what was going on, and it's been going nuts with this story about Pentagon, the New York Times, and Washington Post. Everybody getting new marching orders on this. It's amazing.
Yeah. Now, what do you think's causing this? Why are they all of a sudden, getting?
I know what's causing it. It's orders from the top. And I talked about this when I was on your show last time. These are the elite powers in control that tell the nations, that gave the nations this broad order. Since 1947, you will deny everything to do with UFOs and alien visitors and all of this stuff. Deny always. And they told them, and that's been the standing order. That's been the standing order for 50, 60, 70 years now. And now it changed last week. It just changed. Some kind of regime change. And now it's like, now we're getting this, it's sort of like a disclosure, maybe, from the Pentagon, from mainstream news sources now that are reporting these stories without the old smirk and grin about green little men and the rubes and the rubes who are reporting this stuff. And I saw a New York Times guy being interviewed like yesterday, and he didn't seem happy about that. He was having to report this stuff with a serious face. He did not. Sidney Blumenthal, that was his name. Sidney Blumenthal. He just didn't seem happy.
It was amazing to see mainstream media people actually talk about this stuff, like you said, without making the jokes and the wisecracks about it. And then to see these videos being released, which it's amazing. I mean, because they're coming out and saying that these things are in the sky, and we've sent our fighter jets after them. But, we don't know, what they are, but they are real. So they're admitting now that these things are real.
Yeah. And I don't think they're happy about it, but it's new orders from the top. And we're in the midst of some kind of regime change. And, the regime is not of like one country, because apparently this is going to have an effect on other countries too, which are now preparing their military forces to do similar disclosures as well. So this is huge. This is huge.
This is huge. Now, before we go too much further into this, you have a background in the FBI, and did you deal with this kind of thing ever while you was working with the FBI? I mean, did you come across this a lot?
Yeah, I did come across it at different times. You know, I had. Oh, I see. Okay. I need to turn off the volume, and then I'm good. Okay.
You handled that very calmly. Do better than I do.
Yes, and yes, I did come across it from time to time, and you know, I do an entire presentation on the 3 cases that came up during the 90s and the millennial years. The 3 cases that during my time in government I came across that I absolutely knew were authentic, real UAP cases, as we now say, unknown aerial phenomena, which also were extraterrestrial, absolutely extraterrestrial. And so, yeah, I have come across those cases, and I have those, and those cases I tend to present to people wherever I go, and I show them, and they're available. People can actually see them on video. However, when those cases came up years ago, each one of those cases were attacked and debunked. I don't like that word, so I block it out sometimes. Debunked by these same mainstream sources that we see now coming out and reporting on this the Nimitz incident that we see being reported on.
That's amazing. So now with them coming out, do you think that could that be what maybe ET's been waiting for, is for those in power to finally release the news, and then maybe we're going to start seeing, I don't know, maybe some landings or something?
Yeah, I think that we are being prepared for something very big that is coming very soon. And this is just the beginning right now. This is just the beginning of really preparing us with little bits here and there, little bits. And that's what we're seeing right now. And I think there's going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot more information from the Pentagon and information from mainstream news that apparently has a new set of orders. And it's amazing. It's an amazing time to do research and to look into this area. I think it's going to be getting a lot bigger really soon.
I actually just seen it on Facebook today that they said, somebody said, did you see this news? I don't know, some morning news show. And so I started looking. It said the Pentagon's admitting a UFO. I had no idea. I just found out today about it. And when did this come out? A week ago?
Yeah, this was just a few days ago. And apparently, can we run that tape, the YouTube video of the Pentagon confirms existence thing?
Let's see. Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, we can. So hold on. Let me go over to our other window here. And now, folks, I don't know what's going to happen here, if you're going to be able to hear it, or so we're going to test it here. Let's see what happens.
Let me see it. I can tell you if it comes through.
Okay. So I don't know what's going to happen here, if you're going to be able to hear it. Here we go. And, all right, so here it goes. Hopefully everyone don't hear it twice.
All right. Looks like it's running. Yeah, this is good for your viewers who haven't haven't actually seen this yet.
This is good for me.
Little loud.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. The whole thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing. It's rotating.
That's a pretty incredible video right there.
Yeah, and what's incredible about it is you see an F-18, I believe it's an F-18 pilot locking on to an object that is an unknown aerial phenomena, and it is just locked on there, and you see him following the object. The object doesn't appear to have any external thrust, like like the way a conventional plane would. Right. You have thrust out of the back, or the bottom, or both. And this had no external thrust at all. It was like just a shape that's there and was moving somehow. And they locked onto it, but the pilot says there's a whole fleet of them. But we don't see all the others, of course, because they're just locked onto this one, and that camera only shows the one. And what's really amazing here is not the story of what they're showing from the Pentagon. The real story here is the change in attitude of the Pentagon and mainstream sources that suddenly, magically, have done a 180 and are willing to show these materials and to admit that it is an unknown vehicle that they cannot identify and that it is an unknown aerial phenomena. And that is the real story. The real story is, unfortunately, their change in attitude. What has affected this change? Like you said at the outset, Michael, that's the baffling part about this, because this film has been out there already for quite some time. I don't recall whether it's been months or a year, but this film has already been out there for quite a while. But nothing happened with it because we didn't have this change that we see going on right now. And now suddenly the Pentagon is willing to put this forward, and mainstream news sources are willing to examine it as being unknown aerial phenomena. So that's the real story here. It's not the event itself, but the
and
attitude.
it's incredible too, because I've said all along, I said, so a lot of things, almost anything that we speak about these days, people don't take serious, it seems, until they hear it from the mainstream. I mean, it's one thing to hear Michael Vera and his guests talking about UFOs are real, and they're, yeah, okay, but now the Pentagon comes out and says this, and that like makes that video all that more important to some people anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, so this is an amazing time, and I've said, all along, I said, I don't think we'll ever have a president come walk down the red carpet and give us disclosure, but is this coming from the White House, do you think, or is this even above that?
I think it is above that.
It is above.
Especially because I'm getting information from people, from my sources, that other countries, and I can only talk about the English-speaking countries that we're allied with, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. I include India with that also as an English-speaking country, and that they are also preparing to do these disclosures from their militaries, similar to what we have just done just now. And we are preparing many more sources like this from our military. So again, it's not like disclosure, like you just said, where the president goes down into the Rose Garden and says, "Hey guys, I've got the story on the Greys, and I'm going to tell you guys everything." It's not quite that. But I mean, it does signal that a huge change is coming right now.
What does this say about some of these conspiracy theories that have kind of lingered around for a long time that says, well, the ETs have made deals with people in government? And I'm thinking, if that's true, then why would they even bother telling us about, that they've been investigating, or why would they even bother investigating? The ETs would tell them everything, right? But then it could be, still yet another cover up, which, like they're playing stupid on it. I don't know. I don't know though. I think, I don't know as though they've ever made any deals with ET. What do you think?
I think there is some sort of deal that is made, but maybe not at the national level, at the level of national government. I think the deal that was made was at the level of the elite powers in control, those central banking dynasties, those bloodlines that consider themselves the rulers of the earth, and with the malevolent ETs, like I always write in my books. That's the deal that I believe happened. And that's a deal that we're never going to be told about. But we see the results of it, because since 1947, we've seen that explosion of technology that seemed almost supernatural that happened out to all the nations. And at the same time, we had this enormous upsurge in abductions of people disappearing from every civilized nation at rates that were never, ever even guessed at before. And that's continuing today. So it seems like we can see the results of that. Some kind of deal was made between humanity, maybe not the nations individually, but at least with humanity and with maybe a malevolent segment of the alien visitors. That's what I see evidence of.
I see. And so now there's fleets of these things, often being seen, and even now the military admitting it. Boy, I'll tell you what, this is a really, really interesting time, especially if you're, I don't know how you couldn't be for this. I wonder what some of the hardcore religious folks are thinking right now, because, they think that these are fallen angels, and I'm here to tell you that's not what we're dealing with. I don't believe. If you're a fallen angel, what do you need what do you need technology for?
Yeah, well, what's one of the things that's interesting about what's going on right now, for people who are really paying attention, they'll know what I'm talking about, is that there seems to be this whole public relations rollout that's happening. where you've got politicians involved, you've got mainstream news sources, and they're using this new lingo. Instead of UFOs, now they're going to this term that's UAP, P like Peter, unknown aerial phenomena. But they're also using this other term, unknown aerial threats, UAT like Tom, UATs, unknown aerial threat. And as a matter of fact, Tom DeLonge himself has used that unknown aerial threats language. And I think you're going to see, it's almost like a bait and switch. You're going to see more of that, of us transitioning to this unknown aerial threats, to where there's going to be kind of a ramping up of paranoia surrounding this topic. Speaking of the religious people, I mean, that's what you reminded me of this, talking about the religious people. But this is going to be very similar, actually, to their way of thinking, because we're going to start being inculcated with this thinking that the alien visitors are an absolute threat, that their vehicles are perhaps even, and they're going to start going back to using that national security language from like the 40s and 50s, where they're going to be considering them a possible national security threat. And once that happens, then there's going to be a huge ramping up of what I've always talked about, space-based weapons. And that's going to include space travel. That's going to include a lot of resources, enormous amounts of resources that are going to be put into this system of space travel and the building up of space-based weapons towards this looking out for hostility on the part of these unknown aerial threats. And that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, and I think that's just it. People, they consider things threats that they don't totally understand, things that they can't control. Like you talked about the vehicles, these things they fly around in. I mean, we don't have nothing on this planet that can catch one. I mean,
exactly.
So that's enough to be. I mean, if they want to do something, I mean, you're not going to stop them. It's almost like having Superman on the planet. How do you deal with him if he gets mad and wants to beat you up? There's nothing you can do. It's kind of ludicrous to take that attitude, because you can't do anything. You can't do anything against beings that have thousands of years of technology advanced than what you have. We see what happened in 1952. There was a historic incident that happened only one time in human history, and that incident was, and of course, the United States are the ones that did it, and it was because, and all the other countries paid attention to this. In 1952, we had an alien visitor armada invasion of Washington, D.C., the space above the Capitol building, and all those buildings in that area, the Washington Monument area, all those areas. We had invasion of many UFOs, and there's actually a video out there somewhere that was put together by BBC, and this armada of UFOs, unknown aerial threats, as we now call them, were just invaded some of the most protected airspace in the United States, right above Washington, D.C., the Capitol buildings, and it just was there all over the area for 14 days. This happened for almost 2 weeks, about 13 days. And the vehicles were up there. And for the first time in history, an entire Air Force was sent out after UFOs. I don't know how many jets were sent, but there was a large number of jets that were sent out after UFOs. And those UFO, and there were hundreds and hundreds of witnesses, both civilian and military contractors and military personnel that recorded this, that had pictures, that had all kinds of recordings, sonar recordings, all kinds of radar recordings, and all kinds of recordings of this incident. And eyewitness testimony from pilots, of course, also. Because what happened is our entire Air Force went out there
and or a large number of jet planes went out there, military, and they were absolutely humiliated. Absolutely humiliated. According to all witnesses and the pilots themselves, these jets were faced with UFOs that had so much superior maneuverability that it was like children, little toddlers trying to catch adults. It was insane. The UFOs went after these planes and did over and unders. They did face to faces. They did rings around our planes. In other words, they made it clear that they could have destroyed every single one of those planes. And this happened for 14 days. This happened for nearly 2 weeks. Jeez. Until the invasion was over, because they just withdrew. They got tired of playing with our Air Force. And other countries took note of that, because that incident that was never repeated again in human history. Never has an entire Air Force been sent after UFOs. You have 1 or 2 planes that are sent from time to time to check out UFOs, but we've never had anything ever again like that, because our Air Force was humiliated. And even if you read the government report that was done as a cover-up, the Roberts, I believe it was the General Roberts Commission, the Roberts report, even that admits that these UFOs could have destroyed every single one of those planes during this entire incident of our planes. And it was a humiliating affair. And so, like you said, considering them as threats, it doesn't really get us anywhere good, because there's nothing. Even in 1952, we could see that there was nothing we could do against these vehicles. Can you imagine today?
I know. And see, I personally, I don't see them as a threat, because what we know they could do if they wanted to, they don't do. And I personally have had a close-up sighting and literally ran underneath one of these things that was probably up just above tree level.
You mean like Travis Walton, and you're still here? What happened?
Well, I had a show that night. It was in 2013. I did a show with Robert Stanley, and we were talking about UFOs, and he was talking about how these things are attracted to lightning storms and stuff. And I said, it was an interesting show. Well, at the show ended, I come out of my studio, and I was going to the dumpster to throw some trash out that night. It was about 12:30, maybe closer to 1 in that area, a.m., and I seen lightning off in the distance, way off in the distance, and I kind of giggled to myself and said, boy, wouldn't it be nice to see a UFO now? Well, I turned around, and as I got there, at the time I was still smoking, and I stopped to light up a cigarette, and I caught something orange out of the corner of my eye, and I looked up, and there was this huge craft. It had 4... almost like they were like cigar shapes, 4 orange tubes, and then in the middle it was like dark. It blocked the sky; you couldn't see through the darkness. So it was one huge craft, and it was glowing orange, had white light coming out of the back of it, and the light never reflected down or anything like that. It's like the light stood contained within itself. And I was amazed. This thing, and it was moving slow, just going real slow across the sky. And if I hadn't looked up, I would have never seen it. Well, I banged on the wall outside, and Autumn comes running out, and she got out there just in time to see it. As I was running through the field. I'm underneath going, I'm like a kid on Christmas. I'm surprised the neighbors didn't come out and call the cops. But she comes out, and she caught it just as it was going over the treetops. So she's seen it too. So she told me if she didn't see it too, she would have thought I was crazy.
It sounds like you guys summoned that through your activity with each other and with your own individual activity. That's what it sounds like to me. That's really
well.
real.
Yeah, it's almost, because I hear that some of these things are controlled by mind waves and things like that, and I'm thinking, I did say it would be nice to see one, and it's like my request was granted.
Right.
And again, it was close enough where it could have beamed me up. They could have did whatever they wanted to me. and I didn't have anything happen to me. I don't recall any missing time or anything like that. So, it was an amazing sight, and I'm so glad that I had a chance to see it. And, I wanted to run in the house and grab a camera, but I was afraid if I had that, I'd never see this again. So I had to keep my eyes on it. And
wow.
I wish it did beam me up, to be honest with you.
Wow. Well, one of the theories that I explore in my book, The Extra Dimensionals, is that, and this is just based on casework, because I'm just an investigator. That's all I do is investigate these cases. I connect clues, patterns, modus operandi. And so one of the things that I have seen, that I've determined, is that it looks like these UFO, the real ones, the real UFOs, the ones that are authentically extraterrestrial, like the one that you saw, Michael, I think they are actually alive. They are conscious and completely separate from alien visitors. I believe that it appears, in accordance with all the clues I've seen in all the cases that I've studied, it just looks like the authentic UFOs, there's no one inside of them. And they are actually a separate, conscious form of life on their own. And so kind of like, but they accompany alien visitors. They come with them, and they do tasks for them, like collect information. That's the main thing. The same way you're traveling with your hunting dog and just goes and retrieves the ducks from the pond, or does whatever other retrieval you need. The same way, it appears like these UFOs actually are conscious life, and that they just accompany alien visitors, because alien visitors are not like us.
It might be because think about where we are in technology, and then look at them and consider them. We've now got cars that will drive themselves. They're talking about even having airplanes soon that will fly themselves, which doesn't sound too tempting to me, but okay. So imagine, we have drones. I'm sure they have things that, wherever the mothership is up in space there, they probably release these things, and they come down and take pictures or do whatever it is they do. Scan, take air quality, I don't know, whatever it is they're doing. And maybe they're doing a little tourism too. Who knows? Yeah.
You said tourism, right?
Yeah.
Not terrorism.
Yeah, tourism.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure of that. Yeah. And you reminded me of that when the way you were talking about summoning this thing to where you were. And it's possible. It's like summoning a dog. And that's possibly what happened. And that thing was there to see if you had any information to offer.
Well, I've since tried it again. I go out every night and I say, okay, where's the UFOs? I want to see one, and I haven't got that lucky.
Okay, don't do that anymore, Michael, because, we like seeing your show. So please don't.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's good to see that the mainstream is coming out with this. I'm really curious to see what else is going to come of this. I hope it doesn't just get swept under the rug now and we don't hear anything anymore.
No, I think we're going to be getting stuff probably like every week, where we're going to have more and more. And as a matter of fact, that's why I don't know if you can play any of the other videos that I sent you that I usually do in my presentations. I actually sent you the actual substantive video that over the Skype. I don't know if you have access to it.
I do. Now, is there an actual YouTube link for these videos, or?
I'm sure there is.
Because I've got that set up. If I could go to YouTube, then I can pull it on screen. Otherwise, okay. I've got to pull Ira in for the other way.
No, Ira's not available. We can't use him right now.
So, so yeah, if you send me the link here on Skype, I could open it up and.
I'm getting it right now.
Here is the park of the dogs.
I'm getting it right now.
And folks, for the record, we'll take calls after the break. Break coming up in about 15 minutes. and we'll take any calls or questions folks have. You can also get your questions through in the chat room if you like. And I don't know if how many of you have heard, but we've got another YouTube channel that we're using just for the network. So as long as YouTube allows it to stay up. But you always come to my channel for my show. But for the rest of the network and replays of my show, there's another channel which our moderators can hook you up with when they get around to it. But remember, for my live show, you come to my channel. But
okay, so I just sent you that link, and it is to all 4 Temple Mount Dome of the Rock UFO videos.
All right.
And that is one of the you just have to skip the intro if you can. That intro is a little bit off the wall there.
All right, hold on a second. Let me fix my screen. There we go. And let me go to my other window here. All right.
This the 3 cases that I present wherever I go are within the window that the window of time that the Pentagon has now admitted they had this program, a program to investigate unknown aerial phenomena. And then right now they're just admitting that they put $22 million into it, which I doubt that's all that there was.
Oh, I bet there was a lot more. That's like your wife asking, how much did you spend on that? You know, well, it might have been $40. You tell her it was 12.
Exactly. And I think we're going to be getting updates on that number a lot, quite a few.
Yeah.
And,
All
so
right. Here it goes.
That's a fun intro for people to see. This is the Temple Mount UFO. Anybody can Google Temple Mount UFO.
Yeah, because you're in therapy. You're in therapy. I'd say that too.
I think tonight would be lovely, but is that a UFO? It's amazing. Holy shit.
Oh, sorry, Michael.
No, it's all right.
You can almost hardly look at
That's how you know it's real.
We've seen them in Mississippi like this, but never like never like
לא יודע, גם אסור לטוס שם. זאת אומרת, אלא אם כן זה משטרה, הליקופטר של המשטרה שם על ההר.
This was in January 2011.
כמו כדור אור. מה זה הטירוף? מה זה?
And I predict this will be one of the videos re-released by the Pentagon very soon to show unknown aerial phenomena.
Yeah, and this was taken by multiple people from multiple positions, too.
Yes. Oh, there it comes down, right over the Temple Mount. Then it gives an energy signature off and takes off. But it's almost like it's delivering something.
Incredible.
There it goes.
Whoa!
Right. Now, okay, here's another version. All independent versions of each other.
Yeah.
People who didn't know each other.
Wow, look at that.
אתה רואה?
רואה מה זה?
What I seen in Rochester, New York looked like that.
Yeah, plasma full of light.
Yes.
And just loaded with light.
That's exactly what it did, too.
Yeah. Just hangs out there. Energy signature. And boom, there it goes.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate.
Now there's this is not the most comprehensive video of the most reliable videos there are of this, but there's also another video of the same incident from, guess what, an Israeli Jerusalem weather camera. Let me say that again. Weather camera, a camera that has no political point of view. It doesn't have an agenda. All it does is record the weather. And that camera recorded the exact same incident. And that's what really pulled the plug on the debunking that happened on this incident. Because all these mainstream sources that today have now done a complete 180, they all, New York Times, Huffington Post, they all went and examined this video, but they really didn't, because what happened was, it's what I always tell people, there's squads of people who are working for the elite powers in control, and they find these incidences of the paranormal, and they create fakes. And when the incident just happens, they put up fake copies of these incidences, and even today you can find a bunch of fakes on YouTube concerning this incident, and they're crappy fakes that you can tell they're Photoshop. They have CGI in them. You can tell that they're not real. And then what happens is they put up those fakes, and this is exactly what happened after January 2011 when this first happened, and you had millions of people rushing, people from the mainstream rushing to go see Dome of the Rock UFO, Dome of the Rock UFO. They all went in the millions to go see it. But by the time they got there, these videos that you're watching, that we watched just now, were taken down and replaced with fakes that look crappy CGI. And so then Huffington Post, New York Times, went and looked at these fakes and proclaimed the whole thing debunked. Fake, no good. No more, and they wrote articles about it. So the whole thing was covered forever. Of course, because of the viral nature of the internet, the real videos came back in time. They came back, and we just saw them. But the fakes are also still up there as well. If you search long enough, you can find them. So this was a matter that was completely debunked, supposedly.
Yeah.
Just like many incidences of the paranormal are. But I have a feeling, and this is one of the three cases that I present everywhere I go, and I have a feeling that it will now it will be coming back and will be again shown by Pentagon or by other segments of government as being genuine, real, unknown aerial phenomena.
And I find it interesting that it went above the temple like that. I mean, boy, you want to get a people's attention. That's one way to do it, right?
Right. And I don't think there's a human, like a human force anywhere on this planet that would choose a Muslim holy site to be like the place they want to do a fraud. I just don't think that anybody on Earth would just do that. They just wouldn't. Even though it's a Jewish holy site also, but even worse, they just wouldn't pick that place, the Dome of the Rock, for that sort of thing. Only to me, it just seems like only somebody who's from not from our planet would think that was a good idea to do.
Well, I could tell you this, in Rochester back in the late 90s, I had a sighting with a friend of mine, and it looked just like that, just a big old plasma ball of light. I mean, it was very, very bright, difficult to even look at. It was that bright, and that's what it did. It just took off. I mean, the blink
Yeah.
of an eye, you couldn't tell if it turned into one of the stars up there or what. It just that's how quick it was.
Yeah, and one of the theories that I always recommend to people is that we should start calling UFOs plasmas, and the reason for that is because so many people have had that experience that you just talked about, Michael, where they see these things and they're just filled with light, and I believe that they're not made of metal in the way that we understand metal. I believe that its closer understanding is plasma, sort of like a light gaseous material that is in a state of flux all the time. And that's what I believe these things are made of. And that's why they appear full of light, like the one that you just described. And even the vehicle that Travis Walton saw in 1975 was also filled with light. Also, when in 1980 in Rendlesham Forest with the U.S. soldiers on British soil, where they saw these vehicles invading their military base in the forest at night. A lot of them were just filled with this light, glowing red, glowing yellow, alternating, and some of them appeared to be like, and some of those vehicles appeared to be like wounded. They were bumping into trees and leaking light, if there is such a thing.
Wow.
And that's how they described it. And that's more clues on the theory of consciousness that I have of these UFOs, and the theory that they are actually plasmas, not made of any material that we would fully understand.
So then it's possible that, of course, their artificial intelligence has gone way beyond what we could even imagine right now. And maybe it's true. Like often people say, well, how are we ever going to go to other star systems? Our bodies will never make it. So obviously we would create something, some kind of AI maybe to go and do it and bring the materials we need to spread life with it. So maybe that's what they've done. They found a way to get their consciousness from, I don't know. How do they do it, do you think?
Well, the central theme of my book, The Extra Dimensionals, is that alien visitors are not physical. They are not physical. They are from other levels of existence, other dimensions of existence. They do not exist in our physical space. They are not like humans. They do not lock themselves into tin cans and sail across the galaxies to where we are. That's not what's happening. What's happening is they are other dimensional beings who change their vibration to match our physical vibration for short periods of time. For some reason, they cannot be here permanently. They only change their vibration from their locus, their levels of existence, and they come here. The same thing with UFOs. That's what UFOs do also. They're familiars, they're accompaniments, that come with them, and they just change their vibration. And as I write in my books, that first came to me from one of the most ignored and suppressed documents in history, the Memorandum of Importance from July 8th, 1947, that was written by an FBI agent who was trying to advise the scientific community what alien visitors really were. And so he wrote that, and that document is available. Anybody can get it at vault.fbi.gov under Unexplained Phenomena, and then they would click on Unexplained Phenomena and click on the first group of UFO documents, click right on that, and then they would go to page 22 of the first group 1 of UFO documents. And anybody can download these documents for free. They're all the declassified archives of the FBI, and there's an amazing number of documents about unexplained phenomena, about cattle mutilations, about UFO investigations. And so if you go to page 22 of group 1, you'll see on there a memorandum of importance. There's a number at the top that says 6751, and that is the document where an FBI agent said he had an informant, and the informant was supernormal, which is an old-timey word for supernatural.
Yeah.
So it appears from the context, it appears that his informant was an alien visitor who told him all these truths that I just related, that alien visitors are not physical. They're not from our time and space. They are coming here from other dimensions of reality. And they go back to their dimensions when they're done. And also that UFOs themselves are alive. They are conscious. And they're not made of metal. They're made of some kind of radiant energy. So he told us a lot of things in this document that were very purposefully ignored, especially after Roswell, because Roswell taught us the opposite. Roswell taught us that alien visitors are just like us. They're just bodies in a tin can that can just crash and end up dead by the road. And I don't believe any of that is true.
All right, and what about the alphabet agencies? Do they, like the FBI, CIA? Do they keep each other informed, or do they do like all separate stuff and kind of hush hush?
They always do. Well, they always do separate stuff, and they keep it very hush hush from each other. As a matter of fact, the secrecy system, for the most part, works against each other. That's basically because you can't really keep secrets events anymore, not with the internet and with the connectivity that we have. You can't, we're past the secrecy system already.
The time traveler figured that out.
Yeah, we cannot, secrecy doesn't really keep anything under wraps anymore. It just doesn't. It used to, but it doesn't anymore. Look at what's happening in Antarctica. There's so many leaks out of Antarctica with everything that goes on, and all the secret stuff that's going on there, with 32 nations that are all jockeying around each other to try to get a hold of this secret technology that's being made apparent under the ice there. And we're getting news stories on that all the time from people on the ground, because you can't keep secrets anymore. But now we're in a period of data flooding, which is if the nations want to keep something from people, what they do is they put out too much information, so that the actual truth can be right there on the internet. It could be right there on YouTube, and it could be right in front of your face, but you wouldn't know it because there's so many different versions of fakery that are also put out. And then that confuses people, and then it makes it works even better than secrecy, really.
Yeah, and that's why I get so upset with people who are deceptive like that. You know, I can't stand that. This is why we've gone so long without the truth, because there's people out there who help keep these things covered up, and so it really irritates me for whatever reason, whether they're just trying to make a name for themselves or if they're working for some alphabet agency or some elite. Whatever the reason is, I don't care. There's just, it's inexcusable. And so it's nice to start getting the truth, because me personally, I don't need anybody to walk out and tell me that these UFOs are real. I know they are. I've seen them, and I don't care who believes me. Because when I go to my grave, I know, it's just, I'm not going to go on knowing. So, it's an exciting time, and I hope I live long enough. I'm kind of getting a little concerned now, because I told Autumn, I says, there's two things I want before I die. I says, I want to see ET. I want disclosure. And I says, and I would like to see the Bills win a Super Bowl. And it's like the Bills are getting better, and the government's starting to be a little more honest about it. I'm getting a little concerned.
It's coming. Yeah. I think you're going to get to see all those things. Well, at least 2 out of 3 of those things.
Yeah, sure. Exactly.
For sure. So yeah, you just got to hang in there, Michael. And I think it's coming. For sure. But do your meditations. I always say people who are interested in meeting ET, they instead of locking themselves in a tin can and being shot off in a rocket into space, I think their chances would be much, much better if they just sit down and do a good deep meditation for half an hour. I think you have a better chance of meeting ET, because I think that's where they really are.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. John, hang on with us. Let's take a break here. Then we'll come back and talk some more. And if you've got more video, we'll get into some of that too, because I love the videos. And folks, if you want to call in, you may do so at 803-339-2559 after the break. Skype ID is LNM Radio. And if you're listening, say, there's two YouTubes here. There's one is, the new one is the LNM radio station, and that's no video, none of that. It's just photos, and it's just so that the rest of the network can stream for folks on YouTube. So there's that. If you're listening over there, you might want to come over to the LNM Radio Network. That's where my show is live. And, of course, I'm on screen. I've got my guest on screen, and we're showing videos. So, but anyways, and then for those of you listening on the radio, you can come over to our YouTube channel. You can even come over to our website, and the link is given in our chat. So you can actually watch the YouTube video from our website as well. So many ways, many ways. We're going to take this break, and then we'll come back. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera. My guest, he is a really good one, and we'll be back with him to answer questions for you, John Desouza, when we come back. Folks, don't go away. Interesting times, very interesting times we live in, and I am honored to be on the air during these times. Just never a dull moment, never a dull moment. We'll be back.
Olson is an award-winning author and researcher and has spent multiple years proving his works. His books have reached a wide audience across the country and around the world and have won numerous awards. He has appeared on dozens of television and nationally syndicated radio shows over the course of 2 decades. His book, Future Esoteric, goes behind the official story, revealing there is also an alternative narrative. The newly revised second edition includes more images, captions, and information than ever before. Future Esoteric examines the metaphysical nature of reality and the storyline of what is not being told to the mass majority of people. You can find his books at cccpublishing.com or click on one of his many banners on the LNM Radio Network site at lnmradionetwork.com.
The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Folks, I would like to recommend a great YouTube channel for those of you who can't get enough of Late Night in the Midlands or the truth in general. Try Non-Human Entities. Non-Human Entities supports LNM, and LNM would like you all to support them by going to visit Non-Human Entities on YouTube. That's Non-Human Entities on YouTube, or just click the banner on the LNM Radio Network website that says Non-Human Entities.
Do you own a laser printer, copier, or a fax? Well then, listen close to this announcement. Laser Technologies has been providing high-quality, frustration-free toner cartridges that are guaranteed not to harm your equipment for over 20 years. Laser Technologies will save you on your supplies with high quality and fast delivery. Savings up to 50%. Laser Technologies supplies toner, imaging drums, developer and cartridges for most of the major brands. For a price quote, send an email to service@laser-technologies.com. Include your printer make and model for your part number. Call us at 561-792-9600. That's 561-792-9600. Laser Technologies, providing 100% of the quality at a fraction of the price. 561-792-9600.
It's the middle of the night and there's nothing much to do. Bring your insomniac self over to Late Night in the Midlands and learn something. We've got every topic you can think of, with very little being off limits. Alien abductions, government corruptions, the stuff that's got your sleep disrupted. Come join the conversation tales and tune in to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera.
From the author of Silent Steps and Haunted, Finding an Explanation for the Unknown, comes a story so chilling it will haunt you for years to come. Krista is a young woman escaping her past, running away from her family, her traumas, and her God, hoping to find a new life in a different town. But when she is forced to make a horrible choice, she comes to realize malevolent entities have controlled the true darkness she has been a part of. That is when her real terror begins. Penitence is disturbing and evocative. It will tear down the walls between what is real and what is nightmare. Penitence is the new novel by the man called the new master of speculative fiction, Ira Robinson. Find it and all of his books at his website, originalworlds.com.
Why subscribe to Late Night in the Midlands, you ask? Well, I'll tell you why. Late Night in the Midlands covers everything, and through the thousands of expert guests who have joined Michael Vera on his show, come pieces of the big puzzle, which started many years ago. Michael and his guests reveal information dating back to the beginning of time. To this very moment, Michael Vera not only brings you the best guests with the best information, but Michael is not afraid to call out those who are less than honest. You see, in this day and age, we need a radio show we can count on and a radio host we can trust to expose the truth one show at a time. So become a late nighter and subscribe now. Talk radio like no other. Late Night in the Midlands, bringing the truth back to talk radio.
Ask 10 different scientists about the environment, population control, genetics, and you'll get 10 different answers. But there's one thing every scientist on the planet agrees on. Whether it happens in 100 years, or 1,000 years, or 1,000,000 years, eventually our sun will grow cold and go out. When that happens, it won't just take us. It'll take Marilyn Monroe, and Lao Tzu, and Einstein, and Morobuto, and Buddy Holly, and Aristophanes. All of this was for nothing. Unless we go to the stars.
You can listen to the LNM Radio Network 24 hours a day, 7 days a week through the Paranormal Radio app. Available from lnmradionetwork.com or talkstreamlive.com on both Android and Apple. Our call to listen line is open 24/7. Dial 701-719-9704 so you can listen on the go. Become a late nighter and subscribe now. LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Exposing the truth, one show at a time. Join us in the LNM chat and get your question directly to the host. From the East Coast of the United States, the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, you're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera. To call in, dial 803-339-2559 or 803-392-4566. To reach us on Skype, just use Skype ID LNM Radio.
right, folks, we are back. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera. My guest, John Desouza. He is sharing some really good video and really good conversation information on this whole UFO phenomena, which I find it's my favorite topic. It really is. I mean, I love lots of topics. I love the natural cures and all that other good stuff. But I'll tell you what, I really believe that if we can figure this one out, who are they? Why are they coming here? I think we'll figure out who we are and why we're here. And I think that's a big, big, big accomplishment. Now, I do want to give a shout out to a couple of my radio affiliates. High Point Radio, the top of New Jersey, bringing us into New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, doing it on 100.5 FM, 1620 AM. Thank you so much. Also, WCET 101.7 Columbia, South Carolina, FM that is, on Columbia Talk, and they play the hell out of us, and I thank you for that. Also, simulcasting on YouTube, iTunes, TuneIn, and of course our mothership, the LNM Radio Network, the one that matters most to me. Some people don't like when I say that, but it does. I mean, if it wasn't for the LNM Radio Network, where would I be? I mean, where would I be broadcasting? You can't count on YouTube. They'll shut you down just for saying anything. You know, Blog Talk Radio, they're a bunch of crooks. I've been there. Then you've got, there's Spreaker. Spreaker, they'll break their back for trolls. If a troll tells them that you've said something offensive, they'll take you down. So this is the option. So we built our own, and now nobody takes us down. You want to report me to me. That's the best you're going to do. So anyways, let's get back to it with my guest. John, we are back, and I've got questions from the chat, and I'm not sure. I haven't checked the phones. No, our lines are clear. Now's a good time to call in, folks.
That's great. Oh, speaking of that, Michael, I have a shout out to you from my dear friend Jason Quitt. He, the great shamanic teacher and healer, who has been on your show before. He asked me to please thank you for being who you are, the most gutsy host on radio, on video, everywhere, who's not afraid to call it like he sees it, and you're the only person out there like you. And he just wanted to say thank you so much, Michael, for being who you are, and we greatly appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate him too. Now, did he have some kind of accident recently?
Oh yeah, he had some kind of minor accident at home, and he had a back injury, but he's almost fully recovered.
Good. I thought I read where he broke his back. I thought, oh no, but yeah, that's good. Yeah, well, and I appreciate him too. I appreciate you. I'm telling you, that's what I love about this show. I get to talk to so many amazing people. There was a time when I'd sit back, listen to shows like Art Bell, and you'd only get these, a few hours of what they were giving you. And now someone told me back then that I'd be talking to these people. I would have never believed it, but it's so incredible because I've got such a better outlook on things and an understanding of things because of, rather than listening, but be talking to all these different people who've got so many different ideas about what we could be dealing with. And but we do have some calls. Let's, why don't we take one? And you had another video, I think, too?
Yes, I sent you the link.
Oh, okay.
It should be the bottom thing on the Skype right there.
All right. You want to do the video first or take the call first?
Oh, I love calls.
All right. Let's hit the calls. All right. So let's go to Kentucky, and we'll get 859 area code. You're first. Who do we have? Hello in Kentucky.
Hey, Mike.
Mike. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Hey, Justin, 5-star.
Hey, welcome aboard, 5-star.
Great show tonight.
Thank you.
one thing I totally agree with what the guest said earlier. They stated what $22 million was spent, so-called, on that UFO research. There's no way just $22 million, was spent on that. And our national defense budget is almost $1 trillion a year. $700 billion. The newest Nimitz-class carrier that came out is $11 billion. We only have 11 carriers in our fleet. So, I mean, my God, where do we spend $700 billion a year on military defense budget? There's no way. It's got to be going somewhere.
And how many times does money disappear and they say they don't know what happened to it?
Well, the caller probably knows there's been an announcement for the first time in history that there's going to be an audit of the Pentagon, of our defense forces. They're going to do an audit to see what happened to that. I don't know how many trillions of dollars it is that's missing. But this announcement of this $22 million to start coincides with an amazing news item that they're going to conduct the first audit in history of the Pentagon and the armed forces. It's amazing.
I tell you, amazing times.
Amazing timing, yeah.
It'd be great.
Yeah, it would be great. Yeah. So.
Yeah, just one more thing I'll add, Mike. I know that you got some calls.
Sure.
But about 3 years ago, I've seen some scientists on a television program trying to blow off those phenomenons like what your guest showed. Sorry, I can't remember his name, but over the Dome of the Rock as ball lightning. And I knew right then that was BS. Ball lightning, what kind of joke is that? I mean, it's obvious it's a craft. It's some kind of phenomenon there that, and again, like your guest said, it's otherworldly or worldly that, we can't even explain what it is. We see it as light, but who knows what it really is.
Well, that definitely was no ball lightning. So if somebody said that,
let me tell the guest the caller, that they weren't talking to him or to Michael Vera or to me. They were talking to people in the mainstream who hardly pay any attention to this sort of thing, who just maybe give it a few seconds of their attention, if at all, between the big game and the Democrats versus the Republicans and everything else that they're paying their real attention to. And so you can get away with that kind of stuff when you're talking to the mainstream that basically hardly pays any attention to these sorts of things. And sometimes that's all it takes, is just some ridiculous suggestion like ball lightning. And people will just look at that and in the mainstream and will say, oh, yeah, that's possible. Sure, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's not directed at us.
Yeah.
They don't care about that. People who are awakened and people who are going to know that this is nonsense.
Oh, those mainstream media watchers, they'll even go as far as, if I bring it up to one of them, they'll say, oh, here you go with them conspiracy theories. Didn't you see the news? It was ball lightning. It's like, oh, silly me,
Yeah, that's their job. But apparently their job is changing.
Yeah. This is good. This is good to see. I'm feeling really good about our future. It's just, it's almost like we stepped on another timeline or something. The way things are going. It's like, what happened? It's like all the evil's being exposed. The lies are being exposed. It's amazing.
It is. It's like another timeline. That's why I'm trying to bring forward these videos that in the past these same mainstream outlets have debunked, and who now are going to be made to really eat crow and come back to these things and say, well, I guess they turned out to be real after all. So yeah, if you show the last, I don't know if you have more calls.
Yeah, let me finish up with 5-star. 5-star. Anything else?
No, that's great. Great guest, great show. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Thank you, brother. I appreciate the call. And listen, Arizona and Minnesota, hang on the line. We're going to go and show another video, and then we'll take your call. And you probably want to watch this video because, you might bring up more questions for you. I don't know. So, okay, I see. Okay, here it is. NASA's UFOs, STS-7. Okay.
Yeah. This is another one that I predict is going to be brought back. And I predict that it will be brought back, and NASA is going to be very, very embarrassed by this when the Pentagon brings this back and says, guess what, folks? Turned out this was real after all.
Yeah. All right. And here it is.
Columbia and the satellite now 77 nautical miles apart. Again, that call reporting that the crew can see the tether and see the satellite. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and people, I know it looks like germs in a petri dish, but it's not. This is what space looks like, and that is the tether. It is a long antenna, 12 miles long, that went out into space.
The satellite,
and it's giving out signals, magnetic and electricity. And when they do the close-up, you can see that all those specks are actually vehicles
from Columbia.
Once they do the close-in, yep, here you go. And you can see that these are perfect discs with energy signals coming off of them. And you got dozens of them. Dozens of them. Some of them slow down. Some of them speed up. They all seem to have that little hole in the middle.
Yeah.
And there's dozens of them. And they just come into view. And look at how slow this one is. Just coming and checking out the antenna.
Getting the image? Franklin, we see a long line, a couple of star-like things, and a lot of things swimming in the foreground. Can you describe what you're seeing?
Well, the long line is a tether, and there's a little bit of debris that kind of flies with us, and it's illuminated by the sun at such low angle. So there's a lot of stray light, and it's getting washed out quickly. But Claude is trying to do a quick, good job here adjusting the camera.
Look at that.
Look at the size of that one.
Copy that.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, and debris was the best thing they could come up with.
This is the tether in the satellite. The satellite
perfect discs. Perfect discs that are debris.
Look at that. And it's strobing.
Look at that. Yeah. That's because it's giving off an energy signal. But it's not from the back. It's strobing because they're scanning. That's what they're doing. They're scanning this thing because they're perceiving it as a distress signal. And that's why they all appeared from nowhere. And dozens and dozens and dozens of them just came from every direction.
Did have communications with it during the close
Look how slow that one's going.
Between Columbia and the satellite.
Look at that.
Yeah, after this video, NASA changed the procedures so that all these things are done on private servers
that are much better view, a lot more contrast.
Oh, I bet they did.
Yeah, and then they pull out. You notice they pull out, but you can still see the energy signals on these things.
Much wider strand than we'd expect. Yeah. Can you describe which way the satellite is?
So even pulling out doesn't obscure that these are vehicles. You can still see them giving off these incredible energy signals.
See, and sometimes you look in the sky and you think some of the stuff you see you think are satellites, and they act like satellites. But I'm looking at some of these, and from the ground, if I saw that way up in the sky, I would think it was a satellite.
Right, but the number of them is extraordinary,
right?
Which makes me believe that before this tether went out into the space the way it did, that these things were most likely invisible, because, I mean, shrouded or absolutely invisible, because as soon as the tether went out, straight out into space and started giving off that electromagnetic signal, these things just appeared from everywhere. And I think they actually appeared because they were invisible before. So that leads to the possibility that we may have this many of these vehicles out there all the time.
Holy smokes! Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, we should. I mean, that's a lot. What are all of those things doing, flying around our planet? That's
right. And there's a very strong possibility they're up there all the time, even though we cannot see them. And that they had to become, and I'm thinking they had to become visible in order to scan and examine this tether thing that was out there. And that's the only reason they came into view.
Or it made them come into view of some way, maybe it messed with their frequencies, and it's like because they're able to be invisible, they're able to appear and disappear as they wish, and I guess that they're using certain frequencies to do this, and so I guess if you do the right interference, and maybe that was interference, they couldn't be kind of like the Invisible Man. He thinks he's still invisible. But he's not.
Right. Especially when they're giving off those energy signals where it was pulsing. I mean, it was just pulsing like crazy. And these things all just became visible. And there's so many of them.
Oh, it gets my blood pumping like you wouldn't believe when I see these things, because I'm a sky watcher. I'm out there at night watching the sky all the time. And I see things that resemble, what I'm seeing here. It's just incredible. But so many.
You need those military night vision things.
Oh, my good friend James has a pair, and he came and visited not long ago. Well, whoa, are they amazing? I mean, stuff you don't see with the naked eye in the sky. You look through those, and everything's there.
And those things, and it appears that those things in large numbers are up there all the time, whether we see them or not. And they're what are they doing, and what's the need for so many of them to be in our atmosphere?
I know. And well, are some of them ours? I wonder.
Could be.
If that's the case, I mean, things are so separated for the Pentagon to be doing these so-called investigations. So it's almost like the right hand don't know what the left hand's doing.
Yeah, and I think that's the case in so many different institutions, whether you're talking about governments or even one single national government like the United States, or if you're talking about alien visitors. It's not like they all have a unified front. They just don't. I mean, we found that out with the Soviet Union when we thought that the Red Empire was like all one big thing. And, you look deeper and you find that there's always factions. There's always factions fighting against each other, and that there's nobody is a unified front, all working towards one purpose in any large, organization.
All right, let's take another call. Before I even do that, folks, don't forget you're listening over on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you don't like it, I don't know why you're listening, but if you don't like it, hit the thumbs down, I guess. But yeah,
no, Michael, don't tell them that.
Hit the thumbs up, and don't forget subscribe to our channel. And subscribing to our channel is different than subscribing to Late Night in the Midlands. To subscribe to Late Night in the Midlands, you go over to our website and you click on the subscribe tab. And what that is that's $5 a month, and that helps keep us here. And here's the thing: the show's they're out there for you anyways. So we're not actually charging you for the show. We're asking you to help keep us on the air. So now let's move on to a call here. We're going to go to Phoenix, Arizona, 602 area code. Is this Robert?
It is, my friend. How are you?
I am just fine. I took a wild guess, and I was right.
Well, first of all, I want to say it's a pleasure to speak to Mr. Desouza. I've wanted to call in on other shows, never had the chance. So, John, thank you for doing what you have done, being a former FBI agent involved in the inner workings of our government. So I'm sure you were privy to a lot of things. Just to mention really quick, the video footage that you put up, phenomenal, by the way. David Sarita was presenting this a long time ago, and it never got any legs. But now it seems like everything is breaking open, especially with the announcement, from the Pentagon that, of course, they've been lying to us for years. There's nothing new, that. But I was very curious to get your take on
Sorry
I was
about
very
that.
curious that's okay, Michael. I was very curious to get your take because I was watching the Trump speech today, and I thought maybe, because he was talking about national security, that maybe he was going to say something about what was released from the Pentagon. Obviously, we didn't get that, but he did talk about space-based weapons. I wanted to get your thoughts on that because you were in the internal workings of all this. What did you make of his thoughts today? If you got a chance to watch his speech today, and how do you equate to what was released from the Pentagon as well?
He was President Trump was asked about way back when the election was after the election was over. He was told, Hillary Clinton was going to do some kind of disclosure related to unknown aerial phenomena. What did you think about that, sir? And would you? And he said something to the effect of, "I'm not really interested in that sort of thing." And it may have been because they associated it with Hillary Clinton. That might be the reason he said that. Because now we see later that he is now expressing an interest in travel to Mars.
Or he felt they were going to use it against him. For her, it's yay. He says it, and it's all, look at this nut thinks UFOs are real. But, yeah.
That's very possible. But now it seems like he's all in on space development and travel to Mars. So it seems like he does have a, but I want to remind people that this issue is, it always seems to be beyond presidents. And maybe that's because presidents are temporary leaders, but it seems to just run far beyond presidents. And sometimes presidents are included with what's going on, and sometimes they're not. So, I don't think you can really look at any individual president or prime minister to really set an agenda, how I see it.
Right.
And I think that affects many nations at the same time.
Well, John, let me ask you this. I mean, do you feel that Eisenhower's the last president?
Complex, his farewell speech, he seemed pretty upset, and he seemed pretty unhappy with the level of secrecy that was being maintained against him as president of the United States. So anybody who thinks that Eisenhower was in the know, I would recommend that they go listen to that speech, because it tells a lot in terms of how there's this shady cabal of permanent people, it seems, permanent people that operate in the shadows, maybe in national governments and above national governments, who seem to run the agenda of alien and space program as well. So yeah, that's what I think. There's always been information that Eisenhower had meetings and so forth that involved alien visitors, but I have not seen really credible evidence of that meeting in things I've looked at.
No.
One last question, Michael. I know you got a lot of callers online. So
no, we're good. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, my friend. John, what's your thoughts on John DeLonge? Blink-182,
Tom.
rock and roller. Tom, excuse me,
Yeah.
not John DeLonge. Tom.
Yeah.
My pardon.
Oh.
What do you make of this whole situation where he basically comes on the scene out of nowhere? But my take on that is that he's probably always been involved somehow, but he made the point to get very involved, and now we have this incredible footage, which is basically saying the U.S. government has been lying to you, for quite a long time. They say 2010, 2011, whatever, or 2004. You and I both know that's not true. But is this their way of breaking in disclosure to, the basic sheeple of the United States and the world?
Yeah, I think it may be the first steps towards that. Yeah, and I feel that Tom DeLonge is a very sincere, dedicated individual who cares a lot about these topics, and he really is looking to move forward in disclosure and to make this work. My only question is that some of the associations he has in his groups as he's going forward, and so I think he needs to look at those associations very carefully. But basically, the work that he's doing, I think, is going to be very positive towards pushing along the agenda of disclosure, and so he just needs to watch out who's involved in this sort of thing. That's all.
Agreed. I'm wondering, there's been eerie silence from people like Stephen Greer, who've been involved in this movement for a long time. I'm just wondering what your thoughts on what they are going to have to say about all this. I mean, Stephen Greer comes from the point that all ETs are great. They're wonderful.
Right.
I certainly don't come from that point of view. I say as above, so below. Just take a look at our society, and I think it kind of works the same way.
Robert, if I may,
the higher technology.
If I may, Stephen Greer also likes you to have at least 1 million listeners to come on your show. But go ahead.
Right. I totally got that, Michael.
Yeah, I think that Stephen Greer, like you said, he's the part of the thinking that all ETs are great and always positive, and that if you don't believe that way, then there's something wrong with you. So that has to be taken for what it is, and I think that now what we're seeing with the Tom DeLonge group is more mitigation towards the other side, where, like I said, they're letting out that term here and there, and it's going to become more and more unknown aerial threat, and that's going to be, I think that's going to be the way of the future here, so that it's going to be probably very disturbing to somebody like Stephen Greer, because it's going to be the polar opposite of the movement that he was leading, several years ago. So I think we're going to have to examine very carefully the evidence and the things that are put forward by the DeLonge group, and see where it leaves us.
I agree with you. Let me just lay this on your lap. I don't know how you're going to answer this, but so we go from some sort of official disclosure today. Okay, I'm just going to call it that. I mean, for me, I never needed a government disclosure since my contact experiences.
Amen, brother.
John. But, where do we go from here to Area 51 and say, oh, by the way, we have all these crafts we've back engineered since the 1970s. How is that going to play into all this when that's the real disclosure, in my opinion? Okay, this was just, for the mainstream sheeple public to say, oh my God, we're being visited, right? To the fact that we've back engineered all these crafts for the better part of 70 years. How do you see that playing out, John?
I don't think they're going to be able to touch Roswell. I think they're going to have their plates full with just things that have happened in the last 10 years, 20 years, and that's going to keep them quite busy with soft disclosure for quite a long time. And Roswell's not really something that can be touched. First, because it was so long ago, I don't think they have to approach it. And also, Roswell was a complete disinformation, psychological operation from top to bottom. It had so many levels of deception to it, and that's I always write about that in my books. It was an operation that was put together by the elite powers and alien visitors, and it was put together with these fake hybrid bodies in the ship in this ship to make it look like alien visitors are just physical beings like us, and they can just end up dead by the side of the road to make us believe that that's what they are, and they're really not, but alien visitors themselves want us to believe that. because it helps with the doctrine of alien imminency, that alien visitors could be here physically, permanently at any moment, and they could just be on the White House lawn in the Rose Garden and just start handing out goodies and be everybody's savior. And so that's
right,
part of
but
what
John,
Roswell
but
was about.
But my bigger question is Area 51. I didn't so much mention Roswell because we already know that they back engineered that technology into our physical earthly crafts, that now we can use that type of propulsion to, certainly get within in and around our inner solar system. I'm asking you specifically, how do you think that is ever going to play out? Are they ever going to say, yeah, we back engineered these crafts from 47 at Area 51, and we've got a multitude of these crafts, TR-3Bs, or whatever name you choose to give, or anybody chooses to give? Do you think that is ever going to be released within our lifetimes, personally, yourself?
No, I don't believe it will.
I don't think so.
And the reason is because, in my opinion, I don't base this on anything secret or confidential. In my opinion, Area 51 is just one of many, many underground military and scientific bases that are throughout the United States, and that and if you reveal one, then you might have to. If you reveal Area 51, you might have to reveal the other 50 that are spread throughout the United States and outside the CONUS as well. And they can't do that. They can't do that because there's too much going on under there. If you want to know where the trillions and trillions of dollars went that have been missing from the Pentagon.
2.3, as Rumsfeld said in 2001, right?
Right, exactly. And so if you reveal Area 51, then it's going to inevitably lead to the other many, many areas underground that are similar, they're like underground cities. They're enormous. They're amazing.
Yes.
And they're very, very expensive also.
I've seen
John,
I've seen photos, Robert, that, and you've probably seen the same photos where they literally had like farms and stuff under the ground. I mean,
oh yeah,
literally growing food with, calm. People talk about these sun simulators. Go look under the ground. That's what they're using them for.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Well, John, I guess not to get a little off topic. I mean, obviously you're in this community now. You broke out and said, you know what, I'm just not doing the nonsense anymore, and you know what the reality is for our world. What's your take on what's happening physically on the planet? I mean, do you see things changing drastically physically on our planet, and is this part of the misinformation program that has been, campaigned worldwide, and of course all the chemtrails spraying constantly worldwide? I mean, I certainly have a take on it. Michael knows exactly where I stand in this. Do you come from a certain standpoint of why they're doing this, why they're chemtrailing us, and why the extreme earth changes are taking place right now?
Yeah, I think that these things all connect to one another. And as far as chemtrails, I've been told that, and this is really far out there, I've been told that major reason for chemtrails is to illuminize the atmosphere, if that's a word, to heighten the aluminum content of the atmosphere, and so that when they are ready to use electromagnetic gravitic technology for blue beam in order to make these holograms appear in the skies, these things that they want us to see, that it actually makes it more possible to conduct the energies that they need to conduct in order for these blue beam holograms to appear all throughout the atmosphere of the Earth. And that's something that I thought that chemtrails were done just to make people unhealthy and to
that's like a side effect now.
Yeah, as a side effect of that sort of thing. But apparently there's a larger agenda to create some kind of conductivity for Project Bluebeam in the very near future.
See, and if they're going to do that, it's like a Project Bluebeam or something like that. I mean, then why tell us that why even put out anything about, the Pentagon's been investigating UFOs for 22. I mean, I don't know. It's like this. It seems like mixed messages. Do they want to come clean, or do they want to set up the next lie?
No, I think to me, there's a possibility that they're setting up. They're actually setting up a Project Bluebeam fake alien invasion. It's very possible.
So then
that's what we're looking at.
They're setting up the next lie. Then
it's very possible. That's one of the things we have to watch out for, because.
Well, John, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, John. I was just thinking about what Werner von Braun had, said many times. She's skipping my mind right now. She's a wonderful woman. I haven't talked to her in a while, but she'd worked directly with him. Kara Rosen, thank you very much, and said, and the final card will be the alien card. The final card will be the alien card. So you may have a very good point. I mean, obviously we won't fall for such nonsense, but you have the large majority of the planet, will be running for their lives, thinking there's an alien invasion, so the New World Order can, grasp control over humanity as its final blow to freedom. I personally don't think that is ever going to happen. They just don't have that kind of control, but it's interesting to think about. It's definitely a mind game they've been playing. But John, thank you very much for taking my call. Michael, thank you for taking my call, and I'm going to listen off air. And have a great rest of the show, my friends.
All right, thank you, Robert. And I got to say this, just to close out this call. I would quicker be afraid of the New World Order than I would any alien invasion. If I seen UFOs in the sky, I'd be curious. I might be a little unsure, but being afraid and running, what the hell for? I mean, if they want you, they're going to get you. But thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, have a good one, Robert. All right, next up, let's go to Minnesota. You've been awful patient. 651 area code. Who do we have?
You have slightly slanted sleuth of the truth. How you doing, Michael and John?
Doing just fine. Welcome aboard.
Hey, Michael, first of all, I owe you an apology for going off on the last call I had with you. I apologize, but you brought me back down to earth, and you've opened my eyes to new possibilities.
Well,
thank you. John, yes, thank you, sir. But John, I have Robert kind of stole my thunder because I was going to ask the very last question he asked. And but do you think that it's possible the chemtrails are there to help in the defense against some good side of our benevolent? I call them elementals, is what I call them, because in my experience, I've been filming the sky now for 3 years, looking for Nibiru of all things, and I have to agree with you with the holographic thing, because I've seen some things in the sky that are just beyond even conception for the average man, as far as, how things can morph in your perspective, or you can think a thought and it show up. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's. I think that it's very possible that the chemtrails are being used to illuminize our atmosphere, to help with the conducting of electromagnetic signals, so that Project Bluebeam type technology can be very vivid and maybe solid, maybe real, and push forward the agenda that the elite powers in control are very interested in pushing forward.
I would have to agree with that. Okay, now, you said you alluded to entities that can not stay here, but shift or shimmer or vibrate into a different frequency to make you believe that they're human and they're really not. And I'm wondering what your take is on the Princess Diana thing and the JFK and Marilyn Monroe thing. Do you think any of that could be tied to it?
I've never thought of that.
You know, like they knew.
I've never thought of that, but one of the central things I always deal with in my books, like the extra dimensionals, is always that these like Jacques Vallée said, the great French scientist. He said this phenomena of extra dimensionals, of extraterrestrials, appears to act more like a spiritistic phenomena than a physical phenomena. And so, yes, I've seen a lot of these cases where we have these multidimensional beings that appear in front of experiencers, and they're not appearing from outer space. They're not appearing from a UFO. They're appearing from other dimensions and other dimensional space, and they are ETs, well, EDs. They are extra dimensional creatures, and so many experiences. And then when you go backwards and study some of the old experiences, like Betty and Barney Hill, you can actually see traces that make it appear like maybe those were extra dimensional experiences where the experiencer is somehow converted temporarily into the plane of existence of the alien visitors. You see, so these are all things that are connected with patterns and clues that have to be that are studied very carefully all the time.
Well, believe you me, I've been studying the heck out of it, and to be honest with you, I don't know if you're familiar with the Emerald Tablet. It's been just a plethora of information as it pertains to what we're talking about here with the extra dimensional beings and the worlds within worlds, and the vibration of our existence. And I honestly believe
that's where the real answers are with alien visitor phenomena. Not at NASA, not at any space agency, but with the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and things that make us look inward.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Hallelujah. And that this subject we just talked about right there has led me onto just this crazy ride that recently has brought me full circle and showed me something that is unbelievable, and I won't even mention it here because for fear of everybody thinking I'm absolutely nuts. But I appreciate your answers, and you know what? You confirmed everything I've been experiencing lately, and I appreciate it. And you're a godsend, man.
All right. And Michael, I've been writing about the same things now for years about extra dimensionals being the real key to understanding alien visitors. And now I understand that there's a person in the group, in Tom DeLonge's group, who is actually studying portals, which I also talk about all the time, portals as being the rocket ships for the alien visitors that they use to come here and go back. And he is actually studying the manner in which, and I think the guy's name is Pandolfi, and he is actually saying that very soon we as human beings will be able to access the same portals that alien visitors use to come and leave the Earth all the time.
Wow.
Okay, I'm gonna fess up something here, and I don't care what people think because you just said something right there that I've actually seen. I've actually seen it happen in front of me, and I don't know why. And I've had some weird experiences lately. I stared at the sun, and all of a sudden something opened up for me that is unbelievable. But do you have any idea? Have you looked into any sort of phenomena like we could be connected to a binary that could be like a dwarf black hole or an undeveloped black hole? And could that have something to do with the interdimensional aspects of our existence?
Absolutely, it could. But tell us, what was your experience?
I'm not crazy.
What was your experience?
Well, recently I stared into the sun 2 weeks ago, okay? 2 Sundays ago, and it was the Sunday after you hung up on me, and I got, I was going off about people are,
Michael.
we're getting backed into a corner. We need to do something, and I was swearing, and I was going off, and
Yeah, I had to hang up. I had no choice.
Yep, and I appreciate that because you want to know something? That experience right there is what brought me to what I've learned. And all I'm going to say is look into the Trapezium Star Cluster and Orion Nebula. Look at Danny Wilton's Black Hole Sun video, and all you have to do is go from there, and it'll bring you to the biggest epiphany you will ever have in your life. That's all I'll say, because that's all you need to hear. And if you're truly a researcher and you truly look into it, you will find the answer. And it's amazing what it is.
Type that into the chat.
With that, I'm going to say thank you guys, and I really appreciate the soapbox. Michael, you're doing a heck of a job. John, I'm going to buy your book. I'm going to, do whatever it takes to help your cause, because I've really, really, this is the best dang experience I've ever had calling into any show or experience. So I appreciate it. Thank you for confirming what I've already known.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. And John asked you to type that in the chat too when you get back in the
Denny
chat.
Black
we'll
Sun.
do.
Yeah. All
Will
right.
do. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the call. All right. Let's go to New York City now. We've got, it says Kevin. Kevin, is that you?
Hey, Michael, it's KJ.
Hey, KJ, welcome aboard. Boy, we haven't heard from you in a while. Welcome.
I know, long time no chat, and it looks like I caught a really great guest. I'm a huge fan of John's.
Thanks,
and you know me, Michael. We've spoken about this before.
Yeah.
You and I have joked a lot about our beliefs in aliens and what's really going on or what's been going on. And John, I wonder, this has always been my kind of take on it. Like you were saying, I mean, my great-grandmother used to tell me that we were aliens and that we came from aliens and from outer space. She was this crazy old Sicilian woman. And I've always kind of had this feeling that, clearly there's been much more intelligent life forms on this planet other than us. So,
yeah.
And I can only hope and pray that's the truth. But what you were saying before, you had mentioned about how they describe, these beings as more like a spirit-like being from outer space. And I've always thought that just like we have souls as humans in this human body form, do you think it's the similar type of thing? It's like a soul and they maybe just in some ways when they come here, they take on a life form or a body form?
Yeah, temporarily, I believe they do. But they have some kind of problem that they need us to help fix.
Right.
Kind of like when Cortez was invading the Aztecs in the New World, and and they wondered, why does this guy have to come in here? What could he possibly want from these primitive people when they had such an advanced society, the Spaniards? It's like, what could they possibly want? And what they wanted was their gold. That's what they wanted. And similarly, the alien visitors, we have, as primitive as we are compared to them, we have something that they are missing, something that they want. And I respect Zechariah Sitchin very much and his scholarship, but I don't believe it's the gold, because I think with their technology they could have gotten all the gold as much as they want without slaves very easily. And I think what they want is more important than gold. I think it has something to do with our spiritual connection into eternity, something that they may have given up for some reason somehow. And those are the malevolent alien visitors who are lacking that, and they're looking for it somehow. But the benevolent alien visitors, I believe they're looking to us as allies and as helpers to developing, the multiverses in the future. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I and as a huge fan of Zachariah Sitchin, and I've done a lot of research into this, and definitely feel that as well, that it's all connected to that. And I just wonder, it amazes me. I mean, the fact that to me, this could go both ways. The fact that they're now all of a sudden, hey, let's release this incredible, I mean, this is probably one of the best pieces of footage that the Navy pilot got. And that F-18 pilot, that thing is going like a 1974 Chevy Vega trying to chase a Ferrari. I mean, that spaceship, that thing, that spaceship looks like the best ballerina you've ever seen in your life, like doing some kind of like nutcracker moves on stage, because that is just unbelievable how that craft even was just moving, It was comical when I watched the video, and I say to myself, okay, why now all of a sudden are they going to drop this huge information bomb out of the blue, where we know that they've had this knowledge for probably at least 50 years, if not longer? And to me, it could go both ways. Could be a part of a setup, maybe just to kind of get people to start believing in this and legitimizing it, and then maybe using it, like we said, because as you were speaking before about the chemtrails, now I work in the audiovisual field. I do a lot of work with very high-end projection systems, and aluminum is what they use in the really high-end screens. And it's like a speckle type aluminum product they use in the process to make the actual, it like amplifies the video signal, so you get a really bright picture. And it would make perfect sense if they wanted to utilize that chemical in the sky to show holographic or any type of imagery, or to disguise something, because then if you shine something from the backside, it would create like a reverse image, so you can kind of do it from both sides of that particle, just like a screen. There are movie screens you can do rear, you can shoot from, or you could shoot it directly forward.
So that's what people are talking about when they say that the chemtrails can illuminize the atmosphere for Project Bluebeam.
Well, that's why, in my experience, it would make sense that if you're using that particulate in the sky as a way to, then if you shine some type of really powerful projection type system, that may even activate with the chemical compound of that, and then create kind of like what a plasma TV is. It's kind of the same thing. So, you could manipulate that substance with the right magnification from a very powerful lens type projection system. So it's very possible to do that. Or, like I say, so it could work both ways, though. They could be hiding, essentially.
Well,
like we think they're spraying,
And here's my question then: if they're gonna go ahead and do all of this blue beam and make it look like an alien invasion, what about the real UFOs that are out there, like what we just seen on video? Are they gonna sit back and let this?
No, they have to get clearance. They have to get clearance to do that.
I personally, myself, Mike, I've always thought and believed that they've always been here. They're the ones that have always been here for well over 400,000 or 500,000 years. I think they're just operating on a completely different wavelength and time form. So our time and their time, it's completely different.
I mean, it'd be like, I guess it'd be like, say, Bear in our chat there. He's going to put out a hologram and make it look like I broke into the neighbor's house. And I know he's going to do that. I'm not going to just sit back and let him frame me like that. So I'm wondering why these ETs would sit back and let our government or any government make them look bad.
Yeah, they'd have to get clearance. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Some kind of agreement to do something like that. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Or that there is something happening, because why all of a sudden if they've had the ability to come, they could have come down and landed, like you say, in the middle of the White House lawn. Hey, how you doing? We're here. They could have do that at any point in time if they really wanted to. So if now all of a sudden they are wanting to make contact with us, maybe it's, not necessarily they're here to do us harm, but maybe they know something bad that's incoming to our planet and they're just trying to let us know, or maybe they already have let our government know, and it's a way of them just getting people used to the idea that there is contact with some outside alien race.
Could they possibly be like cabs at an airport and they're just waiting for something to arrive, and maybe that's that rapture. All these UFOs are gonna come in and start swiping us up.
And again, like we say, Michael, as you know, as a Christian, that I have my religious side to this.
I hear you.
And I have what's in front of me, what I see. I mean, trust me, I'm not one of these crazy, righteous religious guys. I'm no Bible thumper by any stretch of the imagination. But, I definitely believe in like I say, but to me, I always tell people, I go, well, Christ was 2,000 years ago. Personally, there's this other guy I want to tell you about, Enki. He goes about 5,000 to 7,000, maybe even further back. Who knows?
Yeah. These guys could have been hanging out here since the beginning. Who knows,
Well, and like you said, as John was saying about the portals, I mean, let's face it. If you've got a time portal, that means literally you could, in an instant, you could be transported from either 10,000 years ago or 10,000 years in the future, because it's a totally different constraint of time. And then once you come into this plane, it's our time. So they could have a completely different time. Maybe they don't age like we age here. Maybe they, for every one day, it's 1,000 years for them. So that, these beings could be 10,000 years old. That's like nothing to them.
Wow, I'm getting one of those.
Yeah. And it's like, look at us now. We can make clones. We could make body parts and all this stuff. So I don't know. When I picture one of their motherships, I almost picture a closet you open and you grab a meat suit to come down here with, and you've only got, it's like going in the ocean with a tank on. You've only got so much oxygen, and then you need to get back to your ship. Maybe.
Right.
I think that's exactly it, Michael.
Yeah, and I would say, and that's why most of the times you see UFOs, let's face it, most UFO sightings, they're usually these cute little round crafts that look like it would fit one or two small people to begin with. So clearly, those are just like little satellite ships that are coming off of some big mothership or through a time portal. Maybe the big ships can't get through that portal. Maybe only these little guys can get through the portal. So, I mean, because clearly we haven't seen any of these Hollywood-style giant mammoth,
Well, the Phoenix Lights was a pretty large one, and I imagine they come even bigger than that.
Yeah, personally, as far as I'm concerned, if I don't see, I'm not a big fan of nighttime, UFO film and spottings, because it's just a little too dark, and there's a lot of technology that you can definitely create things that may definitely look like something extraterrestrial, but unless it's kind of daytime and really good video, I'm not like that video that the
I'll tell you what's better. What's better is seeing it with your own eyes.
Well, of course. I mean, like my great grandmother used to say, you believe half of what you see with your own eyes and 10% of what they write about, or talk about anybody else. So if you're not seeing it even if you see it with your own eyes, you could even be tricked, or you may, think you saw something or whatever. But, I just wanted to call in. Great night tonight, and it's been a long time. I'm glad you took my call, and I just want to wish everyone a happy holidays, and hopefully a little alien will come instead of Santa, and we'll all have a great alien invasion Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
Hey, any ETs that are out there, they're welcome to come to my door for Christmas. I'd be glad to let them sit down and have a little meal with us. So
I'm going to paint the landing circle on my roof.
Yeah, and the Pope says he'll baptize them, so we're all set.
I got a feeling the last people. I got a feeling the last people who want the aliens to actually come here and return is the Catholic Church. That's just my take.
Well, yeah, they may have some answering to do.
They got some explaining to do.
All right, Kevin. Well, look, thank you so much for your call. It's nice to hear from you. And if I don't hear from you again before the holidays, I hope that you and your family have a very Merry Christmas and a great New Year.
Same to you, Michael. Same to you, John. Take care.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Well, John, I'll tell you what. Let's take our last break here, and then we'll come back. And I've got questions in the chat that I want to get to, so we'll do that. And if any more calls come in, we'll do that too. But I'll definitely get to those chat questions when we return. So hang on with us, John, and we'll be right back. Folks, this is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera, and I'll tell you what a night. It's an unusual Monday night. This show has been so good tonight. It's like a Friday night. John Desouza is my guest. He is a former FBI, and he's out there pounding the truth too. He's a guy that I trust, and I've come to like. Out there in this field. So, folks, we'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't go away. Late Night in the Midlands. Loud and clear, huh? We'll be back.
The LNM Radio Network offers a chat room for you, the listener, to connect with others whom are interested in the topics and guests that the LNM Radio Network brings to you. During the live shows, the hosts will even visit the chat room and chat with you, the listener. Click on the big red Chat and Listen button at the top of the website and join us. No subscription is needed at either lnmradionetwork.com or latenightinthemidlands.com.
Folks, I would like to recommend a great YouTube channel for those of you who can't get enough of Late Night in the Midlands or the truth in general. Try Non-Human Entities. Non-Human Entities supports LNM, and LNM would like you all to support them by going to visit Non-Human Entities on YouTube. That's Non-Human Entities on YouTube, or just click the banner on the LNM Radio Network website that says Non-Human Entities. Want to advertise to a worldwide audience? Contact me, Michael Vera, at mv@latenightinthemidlands.com to inquire about your possible and low-cost placement on Late Night in the Midlands and the LNM Radio Network. We have a package and a deal that suits you, so contact us at mv@latenightinthemidlands.com and get noticed right away.
From the author of Silent Steps and Haunted, Finding an Explanation for the Unknown, comes a story so chilling it will haunt you for years to come. Krista is a young woman escaping her past, running away from her family, her traumas, and her God, hoping to find a new life in a different town. But when she is forced to make a horrible choice, she comes to realize malevolent entities have controlled the true darkness she has been a part of. That is when her real terror begins. Penitence is disturbing and evocative. It will tear down the walls between what is real and what is nightmare. Penitence is the new novel by the man called the new master of speculative fiction, Ira Robinson. Find it and all of his books at his website, originalworlds.com.
Ask 10 different scientists about the environment, population control, genetics, and you'll get 10 different answers. But there's one thing every scientist on the planet agrees on. Whether it happens in 100 years, or 1,000 years, or 1,000,000 years, eventually our sun will grow cold and go out. When that happens, it won't just take us. It'll take Marilyn Monroe, and Lao Tzu, and Einstein, and Morobuto, and Buddy Holly, and Aristophanes. All of this was for nothing. Unless we go to the stars.
You can listen to the LNM Radio Network 24 hours a day, 7 days a week through the Paranormal Radio app. Available from lnmradionetwork.com or talkstreamlive.com on both Android and Apple. Our call to listen line is open 24/7. Dial 701-719-9704 so you can listen on the go. Become a late nighter and subscribe now. LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Exposing the truth, one show at a time. Join us in the LNM chat and get your question directly to the host. From the East Coast of the United States, the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, you're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera. To call in, dial 803-339-2559 or 803-392-4566. To reach us on Skype, just use Skype ID LNM Radio.
All right, folks, we are back. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera, and I'll tell you, I almost said it's Friday night. It feels like Friday night to me. I don't know why. And, you know, we had a rough start, too, at first. It's just we had a delay in getting things started. And I should know by now, when something like that happens, the show is usually fantastic. And somebody mentioned Clyde Lewis. Yeah, I love Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis. You know, there's not too many out there that I will say too many positive things about. There really isn't. On our network, we've got a lot of great hosts, of course. But, I mean, when it comes to the big time, I don't know. I think Clyde would be my favorite out of that group. Yeah, Michael Savage is pretty good. But there's some things I don't agree with him on. And, you know, we've got a kind of quite an age gap there. So he still thinks marijuana is horrible. I see it as cures. But, you know, so, I mean, there's a couple out there. I mean, but when it comes down to it, the field is so littered with people who just want to make money. That's all they care about. It's the only reason they ever got into it was because they want to get rich. Or people who want to get the big head and get themselves in the spotlight, or you know. And then there's those who just want to get to the truth, and in the process of doing that, something great was built out of it. And there's folks like that, and I think Clyde Lewis is one of those. I'd like to think that Late Night in the Midlands is one of those. So, you know, and there's others. I mean, I don't know everybody out there. But, you know, there's some out there I don't have a lot of respect for. But, you know, that being said, doesn't mean I have to sit here and name them. I could say this, I've done it in the past. So you listen to my past shows, and you're probably going to find it somewhere. But that's not important. We're not going to get anywhere trashing others, although it's happened. I mean, you know, if I always defend myself. And don't get me wrong, if I catch someone lying, I'm going to expose it, like to Mr. Time Traveler there, who's still angry. He's still got his panties are still in a bunch, this guy, because of what happened. I mean, we must have hurt his bottom line somehow, because he still occasionally will jump on comment boards like on YouTube. And oh, Michael's a big bad man. He's such a bad man. I mean, why? You know, I just. But yeah, other than that, I mean, our guests, we love them. We get along with them. There's been very few of those, thank God, that we've had to do. But all right, let's get to some questions in the chat. By the way, my guest, he is John Desouza, and great guest, by the way. John, we got some questions here in the chat, and I think Jason Quit. Yeah, Jason Quit has one. He says, has John had an extra dimensional experience?
Oh boy, have I. Yeah, and I think you've heard this one before, Michael. I go into my book, The Extra Dimensionals, that I am also an experiencer as well as an investigator. And of course, but it's from my childhood. When I was about 10 years old, I had an observation experience where I saw up close a UFO vehicle, that came very close to me, hit me with that spotlight when I was somewhere in the streets of New York City late at night by myself, and I was confronted with this thing, and it just kind of scanned me, and I felt like it was a reality. It was something real. My spiritual perception felt that it was something alive and something real, and it just scanned me, and it just went away. But a couple of weeks later, at my home, I did have a visitation from, and this was when I was 10 years old. It was late at night, about 1 a.m. I had a bedroom that was kind of right off of my parents' bedroom, and the doors were had been opened between my bedroom and my parents' bedroom, and I was lifted. First of all, I was paralyzed. And then I felt the presence of other things in the room, and I was lifted by my head and my feet like I was like a half-filled helium balloon, and they just kind of lifted me, and I saw the ceiling coming closer and closer to me, and the beings that were lifting me, I assumed they were children, small children like me at that time, and because that's what they looked like to me. But I couldn't quite see them because, again, I was stiff. I was I was paralyzed like a board. And they saw the ceiling coming closer and closer, and they were climbing on nothing, apparently. And they had lifted me up, and they started passing through the ceiling themselves, and then tried to bring me along. And my forehead kind of caught on the ceiling, just bumped up against the ceiling. Didn't go through. And they seemed perplexed by this. They kept lowering me. Again, I stayed right in the air wherever they lowered me. And they were examining the spot that wouldn't let me through. They were examining my forehead, and they kept trying to do the same thing. And again, it wouldn't, just kept bumping up and didn't go through. And but every time they bumped my forehead, I was able to move my head a little more and a little more. And eventually I was able to crane my neck to the side and see through the door where my parents were, to my parents' bedroom. And there were two of the same creatures were standing over my parents' bed with their arms out like this, spread out. And it seemed like they were holding my parents in some kind of stasis field because they appeared to be sweating. They were in pools of sweat, and it seemed like they were trying to wake up, but they couldn't. And they were twisting and turning, but they stayed asleep. And these things had their hands over my parents' bed. And as I craned my neck more and more, I could see the one closest to me with his arms out. And I saw those big, and then I saw it wasn't a child. It was something different because the head was shaped differently from a human. And I saw those big black wraparound eyes that we now know is a classic gray.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that at that time. I just thought I didn't know what it was. I mean, I had a feeling I knew what it was because I'd been studying those things since the 2 weeks previous when I had my observation experience. And so I saw those big black wraparound eyes, and it kind of locked eyes with me from where I was, high up, close to the ceiling there. And I just heard two words in my head. I heard, "He's awake." And as soon as those words were out, it was like a cord was cut. I was cut, and I just fell into my bed, very heavy, like a bag of rocks there. And they were gone. The apartment was empty, and they weren't there anymore. And whatever they found with me, they didn't like it, because I'd never had another contact experience ever again since that time.
Incredible. Absolutely. All right, let me give you, I want to leave enough time to give you the floor to get out whatever you'd like to, but I've got probably about 4 or 5 more questions here.
Cool.
Jardin asks, is this all a lead up to the fake alien invasion agenda? Well, we already covered that. You believe it could be, right?
It's possible. It's possible. Yeah.
All right. Skywalker asked, has your guest have any knowledge of motherships found and videotaped in Orion's belt on video by astronomer J.L. Walton?
Yeah. I have heard of those motherships, and I may have seen that video, because I see so many videos. I see hundreds of videos every month, and so I may have seen those, and a lot of them appear authentic. They appear real. I don't see that they're CGI or anything like that. So yeah, I think it's very possible that there are some what we would understand as motherships out there, things that are so large that they are probably beyond anything that we could understand in size once you're on the inside, and that they contain other ships, amazing amounts of other ships. And I think they're out there, but they may be invisible as far as we know during ordinary times.
All right. And another one here. Ask your guest about underground base Dulce.
Well, like I said, I'm going to say that I believe Dulce is real, and the experiences that were talked about there by, I forget the name of the gentleman right now who passed away, who talked about that experience there. I believe those experiences really did happen. And like I said before, I don't base this on anything secret or anything confidential, but I believe that we have enormous amounts of underground bases, similar to Area 51 and Dulce and others, that are under the ground, and that may even involve 5-dimensional space, to where there's an actual space underneath the ground. But when you get in there, it could be as big as a planet, as far as like a new planet in there, once you get in there, because it's very possible that they have pierced 5-dimensional space, which would make it completely a different ball game from anything we understand.
Mind-boggling is what it is. Yeah. All right. Mike D for Life asks, ask guest if he ever investigated a crime that was thought to be UFO involved. Thank you for that question.
Jeez.
So has there ever been a crime where maybe you thought maybe it was a little strange UFO-wise, and I don't know, and what would that do to an investigation?
Yeah, well, it really would complicate things, because crimes have to be prepared for court, and so they have to be made public. And UFO stuff would, by its nature, tend to be classified. So it would be like a mixture of two different genres that wouldn't go well together. So that's a question that it's a little hard for me to answer, because the question is yes, but I'd have to work out the details very carefully of what could be revealed about those investigations. I would tell the questioner, I would tell them, go watch the X-Files from the 90s, that show, because some of those cases were taken from some of my case files during the 90s.
And there's going to be new shows in 2018.
Yeah,
X-Files. I'm looking. I love it. I'm not a TV person, but you give me some X-Files, and I'll sit and watch that. All right. Rudy asks, can you ask John what his thoughts are on DARPA?
DARPA, I think they're the public face of some of this black project work that has the technology that is right on the cusp of that magic stuff that is beyond our understanding. And DARPA is right there with creating the leading edge of what's allowed in the conventional world with the rest of us. So I think they're doing important work, and the stuff that they do is very important. But I wouldn't want to work for them. You might end up in one of those underground bases for a long time.
I hear that. All right, one more question. Please discuss missing millions. Are they mostly MyLabs, ET abduction, David Paldy's work, he says?
Oh, the millions of people
that
are
missing.
Okay, I thought you were saying money for a moment, because it would be much more than millions. Okay. This is one of the great unspoken scandals of the modern age, is how many missing human beings we have every year. And just talking about the United States, because the United States actually keeps numbers on this sort of thing. A lot of countries don't keep the numbers, and they discourage their own agencies from keeping the numbers. But in the United States, we have an average. I'd say this is a rough average, an average of about 33,000 people per year who are just missing, just gone. And I'm not talking about murder cases. I'm talking about just missing.
No
people.
idea what happened to them. Just can't find them anywhere.
Yeah. No blood spatter, no clues left behind, nothing, no body, no suspects. They're just gone. 33,000 in the United States average per year. And that's an amazing number where no investigation is basically done, because you can't. There's nothing to follow up. And so that's an amazing number. And then if you go to the other countries have similar numbers, Canada, Mexico, Brazil doesn't keep the numbers, but Brazil's numbers are probably much, much higher. So what's happening to all these people? Where are they going? How could they disappear with no physical signs whatsoever? And in certain states, they like to say, in Hawaii, they like to say, well, they fell into a volcano crevice. And those crevices go down for, thousands and thousands of miles, whatever, we don't know. In Alaska, they say a similar thing. They say, oh, they fell into an ice crevice, and that's why there's no trace of anything. They're just gone. So everybody has, law enforcement in all the different states has different pat explanations that they like to put forward, like they drowned in a deep part of somewhere, and that's why they're gone. You never see the body or anything. And but it doesn't work out. It doesn't fit, because the relatives of the people always know that the explanations are suspect, and that they don't really fit what the circumstances are. So, like I said, that's a huge scandal, and David Paulides is doing great work on uncovering that and those numbers, and we need more people looking into that, because these numbers, like I said, these numbers have come up, especially since 1947, since Roswell, when people believed that there was an agreement between the alien visitors and the nations, basically, not one single nation, but between the elite powers in control that agreed to provide a certain number of bodies of human beings. And this is a suspicion, but what the circumstances that we see kind of mitigate towards the conclusion here, that there was some kind of deal made to trade technology for human bodies. And so that's why, and that could be why none of these are investigated. They're not looked into. And people are just seem to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, John, I want to give you the floor now to get out anything that you like. And I got to tell you, I have really enjoyed talking with you tonight. I'm glad that we had no issues and everything worked out and we were able to put this together. It's been a fantastic Monday. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to tell people, because of the subject matter that we talked about today, I want to tell people to just go look at the free sample on Amazon of my book, The Extra Dimensionals. You don't even have to buy it. Just look at the sample and just read the first 50 pages of The Extra Dimensionals. This book has predictions in it that are coming true right now. Stuff that I wrote down, discussing a lot of the classic cases of ufology and a lot of the new cases and cases that nobody ever heard of, actually. And I also, in here, I made a lot of predictions that when I wrote them, I said, even to myself, I said, this stuff is crazy. It's never going to happen. And yet it's happening right now. And the last 20 pages of this, I predict things that are going to be going on in the next 10 years. And there is some pretty wild stuff. And I believe that it's all going to come true in a very short time, and shorter than 10 years for sure. So I want people to go look at The Extra Dimensionals, and they're going to find out more about what's going to be happening in the next year or two. That's also I'm coming up on for the coming year. I'll be at the Ufology World Congress, June 22nd, 23rd, and 24th in Barcelona, Spain. So that's coming up. I'll also be at at a show for George Noory, April 21st in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'll be doing that along with Travis Walton and Dr. Lynn Katai and many other great figures in ufology. And I'll also be doing the Contact in the Desert for 2018, which also I believe comes up in June. And that's it. I just always invite people to check out my website, johntamaBooks.com, and my YouTube channel and my Twitter. And just check out all my material because I always have lots of material. And everything I seem to say is going to happen ends up happening. It's a little disturbing.
All right, John. Well, listen, thank you so very much. And wow, the night has flown by. It really has. And but we are out of time, so thank you. And keep up the great work. And until next time, and if I don't talk to you before the holidays, Merry Christmas to you and yours, and Happy New Year's.
Thank you, Michael. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you, too.
All right, my friend. You have a great night. Thank you.
You too. Take care.
All right, you too. All right, folks. There he goes. John Desouza. Wow. What a show tonight. I mean, you know, I enjoy all my shows. Don't get me wrong. But it's just some nights. This is one of those nights. It just is. But we are out of time. Coming up next on the LNM Radio Network only is Show Us, Don't Tell Us. So that's a live show. So make sure you get over and listen. It'll also be on that other YouTube channel, LNM Radio Station. LNM Radio Station. And I don't know, you could find the link if you go into our videos on my YouTube channel, LNM Radio Network. You'll see a video done, I don't know, last night I think it was, and there's directions there too. But that's going to do it for us, folks. I want to thank each and every one of you, wherever it is you may be, around the globe, in the chat room, on another planet, or on the other side. Thank you all for being here. For my program director, our program director, Ira Robinson, webmaster Jolene, Katie and Daryl and Surfer Knot, and all you guys who help out in the chat room, WJP, JH, Bruce, everybody, thank you so much for all you do. Keep your eyes posted to the sky, because you never know what you might see, and keep your ears posted to this broadcast, because you never know what you might learn. Thanks for tuning in, folks, and have a wonderful night. I will be back with you tomorrow night, God willing. Good night. Maybe E.T. willing. I don't know. Something. Whatever's in control. Good night. See it? Now you don't. Oh, and while we're finishing up here quickly, you see it again, right? I want to thank my mailman. Yeah, my mailman came up, surprised us, went and painted our post and mailbox out there. Sam Jones, thank you so much. What a guy. What an Austin, South Carolina. Tell you what. Good night.
Listen to the LNM Radio Network 24 hours a day, 7 days a week through the Paranormal Radio app. Available from LNMRadioNetwork.com or TalkStreamLive.com on both Android and Apple. Our call to listen line is open 24/7. Dial 701-719-9704 so you can listen on the go. Become a late nighter and subscribe now. LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Exposing the truth, one show at a time. Join us in the LNM chat and get your question directly to the host.